The day that I was diagnosed, I was down at Rush University Medical Center, and the doctor said to me, she said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I've got Parkinson's." And she said, "Well, you could have cancer. That'll kill you." She says, "Parkinson's just slows you down a little bit." And she looked at me real serious. She goes, "Use it or lose it. That's the way it is. Just live with it."
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm Angie Scott. Spring is here, my bass tournaments have begun, and the crappie are biting around Living the Dream Studios. Life is good. My first tournament was this past weekend, and I'm happy to say we took home first place in big fish. We were on Chickamauga near Chattanooga, Tennessee. The bite was really tough. I caught a short spotted bass on a shad wrap, but we had the best luck with swim baits. All right, so this week's episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast is a very special one. We're always seeking out stories of women to inspire you, and I have to say this week's guest tops the charts in that department. Barb Carey talks with Pat Green, who's an avid angler, but she's been living with a disability for many years. You see, Pat has Parkinson's disease, but she doesn't let that stop her from getting out and pursuing her passion. Hard water or soft water, it doesn't matter. I remember when I was up ice fishing on Lake Superior for the Women on Ice event, I overheard someone telling a story about Pat that I wanted to share with you before we get into Barb's chat with her. So Barb and Pat actually live next door to each other on a small central Wisconsin lake. Last winter, Pat came over to Barb's house and asked if she wanted to go ice fishing. Well, Barb was busy, and so she told her that she wouldn't be able to go. And Barb thought that she and Sandy would just go without her. So Sandy is Pat's longtime partner. As it was getting dark, Barb called Pat's cell phone to see how the fishing was. And she didn't answer, so she called the house phone, and Sandy answered the phone. So Barb asked Sandy how the fishing was, and she said she didn't go fishing. And she further said that she thought Pat and Barb went fishing. So that meant Pat was on the lake and not answering her phone. Suddenly, Barb felt a panic come over her. Pat was always very good about answering her phone, so Barb immediately grabbed her floating jacket and put it over her pajamas. She jumped on the ATV and rushed down to the lake. Her heart was pounding. She was expecting the worst, knowing that sometimes Pat loses her balance and falls, or maybe a spring opened up on the lake. Well, a huge sense of relief came over her when she saw Pat sitting on her bucket with her jigging rod in hand. Barb kind of snapped at her and told her that she pulled a fast one on them, as she thought that she was with Sandy. Sandy thought she was with Barb. Ice fishing alone is not recommended, and when you have some physical difficulties, it makes it even worse. But Barb got past that, and she decided to join in on the fun. She had a rod on her ATV, so she grabbed it and started fishing in her pajamas. Pat still jokes about that Barb can outfish her wearing pajamas, as she quickly caught and released a few panfish. Barb says it's hard to keep up with Pat, but if you can, the ride will be a fun one. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little story as much as I did, and I hope you enjoy Barb's chat with Pat. When you're done listening, go over to thewomanangler.com/53 to see some photos, and I'm also going to put a really cool video there that was done by Badger Farm Girl Kim Drana on YouTube about Pat, so you can see some video. I think you'll really enjoy that. All right, here we go.
Welcome to another episode of The Woman Angler and Adventure. This is your host, Barb Carey, and Angie Scott's back in Nashville, I think recovering from a fishing tournament last weekend. So I'm up here in Wisconsin, and I have a special guest on the show today. It's a woman that's well-known and well-respected in the angling community of the Wisconsin Women Fish Group and the Minnesota Angler Women's Group, and She's somebody that has such a passion for the sport and such perseverance and lives with Parkinson's. And I want to introduce you to my good friend, Pat Green. Pat, welcome to the show today.
Hey, Barb. Thanks for having me.
So, Pat, I've known Pat for, I don't know, it must be 8-9 years now. And I don't think I know of anyone who has more of a passion for angling. Pat, where did your love for fishing come from?
I fished a lot as a kid and then got away from it. And then as we got older and my kids went away to college, I had time for fishing again. And I actually used to fish every day at lunch when I worked. And it was fun. It was very relaxing. I'd have a frustrated day at work and I'd go out there by the pond and pick up 5 or 6 bluegills and refresh my whole memory, my mood. And I was ready to go from there for the rest of the day.
Who taught you how to fish as a youngster?
My grandma used to take me, her and grandpa would take me in the summer all the time. My dad didn't have a lot of time. He worked for himself, so he didn't have a lot of time. And then as I started in high school with friends and stuff, and then we would go, and I didn't do a lot of fishing, more was just boating and having a good time, just being silly. But as I got older, I needed something to focus on, and that was fishing did it for me.
So now you've been living with Parkinson's now for how long?
Since 2007, I was diagnosed, and I probably had it since 2005.
So that's, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's a neurological disease that kind of affects your balance and your hand and foot movement and a variety of other things. That is progressive. Can you explain a little bit about what Parkinson's is for those who may not know?
People that have Parkinson's to have no dopamine in their system, and it's produced every day by normal people, and for whatever reason they don't know, we stop producing it, and so you have the rigidity, and you can have different things. There's not one just form of Parkinson's. There's like 3 or 4, and like Michael J. Fox has the jerking one, and dyskinesia. I don't have that, luckily, but it's just a progressive disease that can affect you in a lot of different ways.
Well, I've seen the progression through the years, and what's amazing to me is your ability to do anything regardless of what your body's doing. I mean, I'll go over to visit her and she'll be under the ATV changing the oil or, repairing the snowmobile. And you're able to do all this stuff regardless of your limitations. How do you get in that mindset that you have just to do it anyway?
The day that I was diagnosed, I was down at Rush University Medical Center, and the doctor said to me, she said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I've got Parkinson's." And she said, "Well, you could have cancer. That'll kill you." She says, "Parkinson's just slows you down a little bit." And she looked at me real serious. She goes, "Use it or lose it. That's the way it is. Just live with it." And I thought, boy, what a crabby doctor. I'm glad she's not my regular doctor. So, and that's true. If I don't use it, I lose it. And I'm very slow at what I do, but I can still do it. And I will continue to do it as long as I can.
Well, I know I've sat next to you in an ice shack before, and we both have to retie. And I'm here complaining because I can't see and my fingers don't work like they used to. And you're sitting there next to me, not complaining, tying a knot on a jig, which is hard to do with that light line and those little eyes and those hooks. And you seem to get it done faster than I do. You really are able to do anything in spite of your limitations.
I've learned to improvise with a few things. A good friend of mine, Dee Caputo, gave me she felt bad when she brought it to me, but she said, "Here, maybe this will help you." And it was to button your shirt is a handicap tool you buy at the handicap store. And then she brought me one for zippers. And I use those all the time for things like that my hands don't work. And it's just little tools like that. It really help you out. And I can only do one knot, but it's a good knot. So obviously it works.
Well, I know I'm impressed, and everyone that fishes with you is impressed. And, some people have their glass half full, and some people have their glass half empty, and your glass is overflowing. The smile on your face and that look in your eye, you're just a joy to be around. And I know people with a lot less stuff going on that are kind of a pain to be around because their attitude and their mindset is just different. And I think that, for all people, whether they have limitations or not, living with the mindset of being positive and enjoying each moment and kind of getting the most out of what you can in life is something that you really shine on. And not everybody has that gift. What advice do you have for people to kind of be more that way?
You have to have something to look forward to. The doctor told me you need to plan something once a year, once every 6 months, and look forward to it so you have something every day to get up and work towards. So you have to just keep going. Like I said before, you need to just use it or lose it. So you have to be doing something that you enjoy doing, and I enjoy fishing.
So what is it about fishing? I know you get that twinkle in your eye when you're out there fishing. What is it about it that really kind of gets you?
It's peace and quiet. It's just the content of being just in the water. It just works out so well for us. We have a little pedal pontoon boat, and one day I thought, I'm going to just go around the lake. It took me 4.5 hours to go around the lake, and I didn't catch a fish. But I didn't need to catch a fish because I just was enjoying the serenity of the water. It just does it for me. Other people have other things, but the water does it for me.
Well, I know we've fished together. You're a good angler, too. I mean, you've outfished me on occasion, and the adventures that you can plan and go on, I think, for anybody, no matter what their life is like, having those adventures to look forward to really is kind of puts you in a spot that, having that thing to look forward to is something that I think will benefit everybody. You had you said that Parkinson's has this tendency to have like an addictive personality kind of thing. And sometimes those addictions can be negative. And so you got to kind of monitor that. And your addiction, thankfully, is fishing. Although I do know that side of you that has a little addiction to gambling when we go out once in a while. You like hitting the machines. What about that passion?
Oh, that's definitely, it's not an addiction, but it is a passion because I want to buy dinner for everybody. And if I win big, I do, but I have to control myself, and it's okay. It's fun. We go out Wednesday night for wings every week, and we have a good time. And it's just great living in O Town and having our friends be able to do things at spur of the moment. I love retirement. It's good for me, and I hope to continue for a long time.
For those of you that don't know what O Town is, there's a group of women anglers that all kind of ended up in the same town, and the town is Oxford, Wisconsin, and we refer to it as O Town, and it's a great hub of fishing activity around this area in central Wisconsin. So there's a lot of gals that come to this area to fish, and a great network. And I think that's one of the things that has probably really benefited you too. I'm not going to speak for you, but I know so many other people having that support of a kind of an extended family like this fishing club, Wisconsin Women Fish, is for you. I mean, you have a lot of great support people. You have a lot of great people in your life, and a lot of people to go on adventures with, fishing adventures. How much of a difference do you think that has made?
Oh, it makes a big difference. Just the group, Wisconsin Women Fish, has been great. Last week I went fishing with Karen and her husband, and there's always somebody to fish with. And if Sandy wants to go back to Illinois to visit the grandkids, somebody's here to watch me. If something happens, they're there to help me out. So it's wonderful because their family isn't close by. My son lives in Illinois. My daughter lives in Sheboygan Falls, and I have one out in Denver area. And it's tough because you don't see them a lot, but you see your friends, and they are like family. We've spent time with you, Barb, on holidays, Thanksgiving and stuff, and it's really helpful. It's really good.
Now, you made a reference a couple times to Sandy. Those that don't know, Sandy is your partner. You guys have been together for how long?
21 years.
21 years, yeah. And, it's again, being connected to a bigger sense of community, I think, is something that's important for everybody. And it's not easy to get connected into those communities. And I really encourage people, especially in the people that like angling and adventures and hunting, those opportunities are more there for people to get engaged in some of these groups that really can help in the long run. I know I look forward to fishing many, many more years with Pat, and she's a great role model for so many people. And if you have any limitations in your life, I really challenge you to kind of put those on the back burner and keep moving forward. And everybody's got something, doesn't matter who you are. Some people are better off and some people are worse off, but you get the cards you're dealt, And how you play the game matters if you win or lose. Boy, that was kind of profound, wasn't it, huh? Pat, as always, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thanks, Barb. It was nice talking to you, too.
And thanks for being so supportive, you fans out there of the Women Angler and Adventurer podcast. Please share these episodes so more people hear our stories. I think telling these stories of women in the outdoors is really important. Thank you for supporting us on Facebook and liking our pages there and subscribing to our podcast. And if you have a request for guests down the road, somebody you think would be a good guest on the show, drop us a message through Facebook or through the website, and we'll be happy to pursue that. And again, thank you for supporting the Woman Angler and Adventurer.